I was very blessed to have been the PA of Bruce Kurzweil back in 2007. Now, he was the gentleman who actually started the Green Building Council. So I didn't have much of a personal agenda at all at the time. I wasn't very aware of what green living meant and what the impact, the huge impact on the environment.
The world is at a tipping point. Climate change is upon us, and its impacts are global and unprecedented.
I think that the world is moving in that direction for obvious reasons, whether one believes or not in global warming. There is also an economic rationale and a kind of energy continuity rationale in designing sustainable buildings.
We continue suffering from load shedding and not enough power and electricity, so different sectors are looking for alternatives, and most alternatives that are out there is renewables.
For over a decade, the Green Building Council South Africa, the GBCSA, has been a pioneer in the country and Africa's green and sustainability movement.
The Council's main mandate is to really push for sustainability and transformation within the built environment, and transformation in the way in which decisions are made, in the way in which we construct buildings and precincts as well, and even residential homes. The main drive for green building councils is around reducing carbon emissions. The whole issue of climate change and its impact is real. And the property sector contributes quite a lot to carbon emissions, and there has been, up to now, very little attention on the sector in its entirety. So in South Africa, what we do is we do quite a lot of training. So we train a number of professionals, so they take formal exams, and we call them accredited professionals. And these are professionals that go on to work on green building projects. But over and above the professionals themselves, we also do general training around sustainability in the built environment.
An accredited professional through the Green Building Council of South Africa is a sustainable design professional. It's a professional that has done the relevant courses, that has got the relevant postgraduate qualifications behind them in the built environment, whether it be science, engineering, architecture, for example, or interior design. And that professional sits around the table with the design team, with your architects, engineers, landscape planners, and your client, and guides the team in a coherent, sort of holistic manner to take that client's aspirations from concept to completion in terms of partaking in the green economy.
Currently, we are about 20 full-time staff members, and Green Building Council utilizes a lot of external, we call them external faculty for our training programs. And we then also have external assessors who do third-party verification on certification projects. So if I were to even count our external staff base, the part-time ones, I would say we are well over 50 staff members. And we have well over 700 members of the Green Building Council who then collaborate with us every once in a while on different aspects and projects. Now, when we then go internally in terms of full-time staff and what we do and the growth that we have seen over the years and where we're going, is that we are very conscious about the staff members that we bring to the team. When you then have discussions or look deeper, you'll find that all of them are passionate about the environment and about sustainability.
For me, it's like I'm playing a role in humanity, saving humanity for the next 20, 30 years for the stuff that we are implementing now.
And I think going forward, there's, in terms of what the industry requires of us as a council, there's definitely opportunity to adapt and grow with the industry at large.
It's a huge responsibility. So I cannot be green here in the office and not at home. That's the other thing. So my teachings don't just end here with the people that I interact on my way to work, on my way from work home, because I interact with a lot of people. So I am an ambassador, and when you are an ambassador, it does not end when 5 o'clock comes. It continues 24 hours.
Sustainability is just no longer this kind of premium that we need to pay or need to try and achieve. it's a fundamental building block upon which we need to build a future.
We're saving our planet, and we're delivering much better buildings and much better spaces and environments. So that's really the end game of this. We've got 10 years, and I think we're collectively working on this.
Taking on the mammoth task of transforming the space by minimizing the scale and impact of climate change, one certification at a time.
Certifications have played a really important role in the brand and the legacy of the GBCSA. So we do three key things. We train, we advocate, and we certify. Certification allows clients or developers to compare their buildings against a standard or a benchmark, and they know that it provides third-party certification. A lot of people came to know about the GBCSA through certifications.
We view it as a third-party verification, because if we are going to say you have a green building, definitions differ from one point to the other. Green for me might be one tree, and green for the next person might be an overhaul integrated system of renewable energy and water efficiency and all those other issues. So what we do at the Green Building Council is we've developed a number of rating tools that look at different parameters within a building life cycle, from the designs to construction, operations, and up to decommissioning, in terms of what is sustainable and what is responsible behavior.
There are several reasons why developers or clients would want to have their buildings certified, and they range from more idealistic or philosophical values in terms of brand alignment with corporate values for an organization or for a company. But then it can also obviously speak to cost savings for developers and clients, decreased utility bills, or they can essentially sell their properties on for more or at a premium because of the benefit of having a green building that tenants then want.
One of the biggest trends we've seen is the move from new build certifications to the existing buildings market. This is very exciting for us, since most of the built environment exists already. So that's really where we need to focus our green building energy, is in creating efficiencies in that.
And in fact, we've done research together with the MSCI on an annual basis. Essentially, it's their research that we support, where they show that it's up to 3 percentage points better return on investment for certified green buildings when you compare sort of A-grade offices to non-certified A-grade offices.
Among its various milestones over the past 12 years, the GBCSA has redefined what it means to be green by developing tailored market-based solutions, and has passed its 400th certification, making it the World Green Building Council's fastest growing member.
We started just doing new build tools. So that was where we started. Those were what we thought the industry would grab hold of straight away. And we designed the new build tools individually. Office, multi-unit residential, mixed use, all of those were designed individually. In about 2014, we designed the existing building performance tool and the interiors tool for a whole bunch of different building types. So existing buildings could be for an office, it could be for a gym, it could be for a whole bunch of building types, as well as the interiors tool, it could be for a whole bunch of building types. And we launched those at that stage.
The council is ambitious and is putting out certification programs that align with international agreements. A couple of years ago, we had representation at the Paris Climate Change Conference, COP21, and the outcome of that was creating a protocol on the numbers that we'd like to then target by 2020, and introducing new certification programs that could speak to that Paris Agreement. So, it takes it right back to like a high level.
It's part of the World Green Building Council sort of set of certifications, of which GBCSA has sort of taken upon themselves. So it's not enough to sort of just say we are diverting all this from landfill. There's a lot of sort of waste licenses that have to be shown and provided, a lot of collecting, tracking of waste, leaving sites, and I think the waste industry in South Africa hasn't quite reached that level yet that is required of the Green Building Council South Africa. So having those strict standards in place is challenging, but it's also good because it's driving the waste industry to become more robust in that sense.
It's crucial for us to make sure that we can compare ourselves on that global stage. And a lot of these investment drivers really sits in the space of sustainability disclosure measures. So something like the Global Real Estate Sustainability Benchmark is something that we partake in every year. And from that perspective, these sustainability benchmarks also looks at certifications and what you are doing as a property owner around certifications.
Although relations with the public sector had once proven to be a difficult task, the Council rose up to the challenge to forge relationships in the national, provincial and local level.
So we are starting to see policies coming up in the public sector. So the National Department of Public Works just approved late in 2018 the Green Building Policy with the aim of transforming the whole building stock of public works, which is quite great.
The government has shown it's set an example, and they're leading by that example to show not only can private sector do it and put a lot of money towards it perhaps, but we've been able to do this on our regular budget and with training, upskilling labour, and still coming in within that budget. So it's no longer that government or private sector would feel that it's not achievable.
We voluntarily entered into this type of certification and rating for obvious reasons. Tshwane House is our first public-private partnership in the country, so that alone is a pilot project. We have many national government PPPs, but this being the first. So the thinking behind voluntary certification is really to show leadership, innovation, social responsibility, and how else to showcase our clients than to go through this voluntary certification in terms of green. We're all aware of the constraints that the country is facing in terms of natural resources. So you do need to be conscious of how to reduce your various emissions, your carbon footprint, your energy consumption, and to start off with the obvious or the easier achievable elements is really where we need to go. So we've had the benefit, and there's this perception that green is always more costly, but we've had the benefit in having that at the back of our minds from the beginning in our design. So if you have that in your design concept already, you will bring in those from the beginning. So we knew that for obvious reasons, this building was imploded before we started construction. So the highest we would achieve on this building was a 5-star, and we worked from design in getting there, and we've achieved that.
The impact that it's had on improved staff morale, providing us with services such as reduced operational costs. We harvest grey water for our ablution facilities. We're moving towards solar panels for reduced energy consumption. The pollution has actually reduced in terms of the city. The OHS standards are in place. So the overall productivity, and then also being benchmarked by other government organizations who actually now are using Tshwane House as a yardstick for their building initiatives, is actually the way to go.
It has been proven when you are in a building that has got sufficient natural light coming in, you'll be more productive. You've got a proper natural air conditioning system within that particular building. You have proper vegetation internally or even towards that particular building. So productivity levels of employees cohabiting green buildings have been proven to be higher than those that are in non-green buildings. Especially in South Africa now, we've seen quite a number of protests over the past few years where workers, I think, especially in the public sector, would be, refusing to occupy a particular office block, mainly because of its, health and safety-wise in terms of being unsafe, but just being a sick building. We've got so many sick buildings, and part of green building and what we are doing is to just try and reduce and eliminate a lot of that so that we have healthier people.
Advocacy and awareness on environmentally friendly practices in the public and private sector are the backbone of the Council.
So advocacy is something that we definitely strive for, and we definitely want to get out there. It is something that's slow and it's ongoing, and it is something also within the portfolios of buildings that we are definitely starting to see that they are trying to compete with each other as far as who has got more star ratings, who is better than the other, but it's the bigger portfolios who are there, or it's the banks who are trying to compete against each other.
One of the pioneering things as part of the certification was that it was the first building that used low VOC paints in South Africa, as they weren't available at the time, and Dulux paints then made it possible to actually manufacture in South Africa and apply it to this building.
For us, it's not just about getting a green rating for the building. It's also showing that in terms of the operations of those buildings, that we continue along those sort of with those rating tools that enable us to show how we're bettering the operations of those buildings. So when we do a building, if it's a new building, we will go for a design rating which shows our intent, and then we'll carry that intent through to actually getting a as-built rating. Many companies don't do that, they stop at the design rating. And we're now going a step further and doing the as-built ratings as well, because that shows how we're operating in those buildings. And it's all about continuous improvement. If you get a 3-star or 4-star this year, in 3 years' time when we redo the rating on the building, hopefully we'll push up the rating to a 4 or 5-star.
So we're seeing more and more companies, not just property companies, taking targets towards zero carbon, making sure that they are off-grid, they are fully renewable, they are not contributing to carbon emissions. So
for us, was a non-brainer. Part of Discovery's ambition is always been to be a force for social good. And the force for social good stands for me in a building context as having a building that is environmentally friendly, that provides a great environment for people to work. And that talks about the quality of air, the lighting, the natural light that comes into the building. All these things is important from a social aspect as Discovery as a brand. The other key principle is that our community or the people that we attract to work for us are also very astute in terms of green and what's happening in the world in terms of global warming and all of that. So there's a voice there, and a social voice that says, what are we doing as part of Discovery to be aligned? And being a green building aligns ourselves to not only our ambition, but also to our employees and attracting them, because those are the questions that they'll ask. Discovery, what are you doing from a social and environmental point of view?
Discovery had an opportunity to inform what kind of building they wanted to be in, and that started from the very inception of the project. The building was designed for Discovery, and they had a very specific requirements. Green Building Council have been instrumental in developing all the tools that we are using in the industry to certify buildings, and often we would use the tools in buildings that not necessarily target certification, but they want to do the right thing nonetheless. So, as I said, Green Building Council has been really, really instrumental in the past several years, developing the tools, issuing new iterations, making the requirements more stringent as time develops. And you might be aware that recently the Green Building Council also issued their new tools for net zero energy and net zero water buildings. We are absolutely in dire need for those tools. We need to develop more buildings that will be certified with those tools. There's just no choice. As we're moving forward, all the buildings that are coming online not only have to be green, but we have to strive for, where possible, to do net zero energy and net zero water.
The vast majority of South Africa's built environment is not particularly sustainable and not green, which represents an amazing opportunity to convert the buildings in South Africa, the infrastructure in South Africa even, to support those buildings to be greener.
We also partnered with GIZ also to even work on not just the tool, but also the outreach program, and that is through the National Department of Environmental Affairs for residents, because we've realized that much as we've made a huge difference in the commercial space and business gets it, and we are getting to that point where green is used as a competitive advantage and buildings are marketed based on their green attributes.
So to get to a 5-star level, that's kind of what you have to do, because you can't just choose only energy or only water. So we've got interventions on all of the key categories of the Green Star tool, and some of the really interesting ones, for example, there is on the roof a comprehensive so-called PVT system that stands for photovoltaic thermal, which means it's a set of panels and ancillary equipment which harnesses electrical energy from the sun as well as thermal energy from the sun in one set of panels. And that obviously reduced the building's electrical demand drastically because it contributed renewable energy while greatly reducing the load through contributing thermal energy for the hot water system.
As an independent body and a non-profit organization, the Council values its relationships with its members and partners who are integral to its core structure.
The most important component of the existence of the GBCSA is its members. We are a member-based organization. When we started the organization in 2007, probably there were just a handful of members who were our founding sponsors, founding members. We just had some seed capital into the organization for the cause of trying to bring green building to South Africa. And from then on, there was just a whole lot of support, everyone raising their hand and getting involved and ensuring that we start the movement in South Africa. So we've seen that there's been a big drive for sustainability over the past 6-7 years, and you've seen most of the bigger companies and the bigger developers jumping onto the bandwagon and sponsoring and putting some seed capital for the GBCSA to come into existence and for us to start operating. We have actually over the past few years introduced another tier of relationships in the private and public sector, which is the Green Building Leader Network, which is a very, very, very small group of members who would come and put in some seed capital for some OPEX for the organization so that the organization can operate and still roll out this whole greening of the built environment in South Africa.
Our organization really relies on members, and we operate for our members. So it's really important to us to know what our members are doing and to have them involved, because without our members we really won't have the capacity or the need to drive into the market the way that we do.
GBCSA started off with a large percentage of participation coming from the private sector. The level of trust between the public sector and the private sector is really very low. So if you are coming with a heavy private sector perspective, public sector would look at you in a very questioning way. Therefore, if you are an NPO and looking for collaboration, sponsorship, partnership with the other sector, when you had started building stronger relationship with the former, that trust issue comes up, and you have to go out of your way proving that actually we are for South Africa, not for a particular sector. And same goes the other way, where we have taken a conscious effort to also warm up to the public sector, and we are seeing now positive steps where the public sector is coming on board and doing the work. But once we do that, then we have to then also answer to our private sector members to explain the importance of the public sector in this, and why GBCSA is reaching out to make sure that the relationship is built, because it's through the combined efforts that we need. So it needed a lot of energy. It's a challenging task. It's an ongoing issue that you have to communicate over and over again to both sides in terms of what you are trying to achieve. So I'm quite encouraged to see that now that cohesion is coming through, that especially when we are discussing sustainability and the green economy issues, different sectors are starting to really see through the same lens. And most of that, unfortunately, has been because of disasters.
The GBCSA takes challenges in its stride, having gone from loss-making to the turnaround of its annual Green Building Convention, making it one of the most sought-after events in the African property calendar.
It's voluntary. So essentially what happens is delegates and member companies that are on our books approach us. So essentially when they approach us, so say for example for our annual convention that happens in October, the delegate will then approach us. So essentially when they busy signing up for the convention, we don't necessarily have issues or problems with getting the payment, reason being because they step forward voluntarily and they came forth and said, look, I want your services.
We have a very collaborative nature of work, so it's relaxed.
The culture in the office is very free-spirited. We can communicate freely with each other.
It's a very people-facing job, and so we interact with multiple stakeholders on a weekly basis, and I think that is the highlight. Understanding their framework, understanding their conditions, understanding the challenges and what we as the Green Building Council can do in supporting them in unlocking those challenges.
There has been a lot of growth. It's been great for me to continue with the SMME development, as well as establish a new unit within the GBCSA to assist the organisation going forward as a thought leader.
The individuals that work for the organisation are very passionate about the work that we do. And the core function of the GBCSA and what it is that we are striving to achieve. So I would definitely say the one that stands out for me is the unity in order to achieve what we want to achieve.
My perspective has shifted to more green construction and development and how you can actually implement green practices in your construction industry.
It's not just a 9-to-5 job, it's very much what we need to live. It's lifestyle. Work is almost like an extension of our life.
You kind of change as you go on. It does take a role, and also with what we've learned here, you also impact your community and you impact your family. You start becoming more aware of the green building.
The journey has just begun. We have barely scratched the surface. Firstly, as Team GBCSA, I keep on saying to the team and to stakeholders that we are just a secretariat for our members and for the stakeholders at large. So to us as the secretariat, what I'm saying is we've just started and let's just get moving, because we are making a real difference, and that difference needs to continue. The gap needs to be quite bigger. We need to see what we have done or what we have set out to do. And to our broader stakeholders, members and partners alike, is that thank you for the decisions that you have made to go green, to transform the built environment, to walk the journey with us as GBCSA. You are part of the GBCSA. When we say GBCSA, we're meaning you as well. So thank you for all those commitments, and let us continue to make that real difference.
Council South Africa. Transformation of the South African property industry to environmental sustainability.